Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we've got an incredible story about how a Tata steel plant in India completely transformed itself into a world leader in digital innovation. But here's the twist. Their secret weapon wasn't just fancy algorithms. It was all about their people.
Okay, to really get this story, you have to feel the heat. Just picture this: molten steel, glowing hot at over 1600 degrees Celsius. Now, in a process called superheating, operators have to hit a target temperature that's inside a window of only 15 degrees. Think about that. If they're too hot, the whole production line slows down. If they're too cold, the steel can literally freeze solid, ruining the entire batch. I mean, talk about a high-stakes balancing act.
So here was the problem. Even their most experienced operators, guys who were relying on decades of know-how, were only nailing that perfect temperature 2/3 of the time. Now, that strike rate, as they called it, wasn't just a number on a chart. It was a hard limit on the entire plant's output. Even a tiny improvement could mean hundreds of extra tons of steel every single day. And that brings us to the real heart of the challenge, right? When human intuition and years of experience get you about 2/3 of the way to perfect, how in the world do you close that last gap? That was the exact question facing the managers at the Kalinganagar plant. So, where do you even begin trying to solve a problem like that? Well, for Tata Steel, the answer was pretty clear. They had to focus on that super high-stakes superheating process. It was the perfect mix of huge risk and even bigger reward. Right, and here's the crucial point. This wasn't just some technical puzzle to solve. It was a major business bottleneck. Getting that strike rate up from 66% to something like 85% could actually boost the plant's total output by up to 12%. That is a massive gain, all from just optimizing this one single step. With such a clear opportunity just sitting there, the plant managers turned to what seemed like the obvious fix: advanced analytics. But as you can probably guess, their first shot at it, well, it didn't exactly go as planned. Now, the plant looked great on paper. Step 1. Have data scientists use 2 years of historical data to build a predictive model. Step 2, give that model to the operators to help guide their decisions. And Step 3, send the employees to classroom training to learn the basics of data science. A pretty logical, tech-first approach. And you know what? For a little while, it worked. The model actually improved the strike rate. But then, reality crashed the party. As the mix of steel orders started to change, the model's recommendations got all out of whack. The operators, who'd never really trusted this new black box to begin with, just gave up on it. And those employees who went to the basic training, they just didn't have the real-world chops to figure out how to fix it. Shailendra Ray, who's the chief of blast furnace operations, he really nailed the problem right here. You can't just drop some magical solution on people who have spent 30 years mastering a craft. The second the model spit out something that didn't match their experience, poof, the trust was gone. Now, this early failure could have been the end of the line, but instead it led to this really profound insight that changed absolutely everything. They realized their entire approach was backward. And this, right here, was the real turning point. Management suddenly got it. Success wasn't about deploying a shinier tool. It was about building a deeper capability within their own people. They had to fundamentally change how they worked. So they threw out the old playbook and wrote a new one, built on 3 key ideas. 1, always start with the business problem, not the cool tech. 2, develop your analytics talent in-house instead of just hiring consultants. And 3, and this is the big one, make analytics part of everyone's job, not just something for a handful of specialists. You can really see how they put those ideas into action on this timeline. So phase 1, that was the first failed attempt. But check out phase 2, starting in 2018. Hands-on capability building. This is where it all changed. Forget just classrooms. Now employees started working side by side with experts on real problems in the plant. And to prove just how serious they were, the VP of Operations, Rajiv Kumar, did something pretty radical. He put every other major initiative in the plant on hold. This transformation became the #1 priority, period. That sent a powerful signal to everybody that this wasn't just another project of the month. So what happens when you combine that powerful technology with a workforce that's deeply skilled and, more importantly, actually trusts the whole process? Well, let's take a look at the results. The result was just staggering. Remember that initial 2 out of 3 success rate? Well, The new model, which was co-developed with the operators who now understood it and believed in it, hit a 90% strike rate. It was a massive, game-changing leap in performance. And that incredible performance had a direct financial payoff. Just by perfecting that one single process, the plant unlocked $4 million in annual savings. But they didn't stop there. As they started applying this new, collaborative way of working across the entire plant, the total value delivered just soared to over $70 million. This wasn't a one-time fluke. It was a completely new, sustainable way of doing business. The impact, though, it went way beyond the balance sheet. It earned the plant global recognition, and it fundamentally changed the culture.
In 2019, the World Economic Forum designated the Kalinganagar plant a lighthouse, which is a huge deal. It's one of only a handful of facilities in the entire world recognized for leading the way into the future of manufacturing. It was the ultimate validation of their people-first strategy. But maybe the most profound change was in the culture. As Shailendra Rai put it, debates were no longer about 5 different opinions all based on experience. Instead, the team could just look at the data together and find the real answer. It completely shifted their dynamic from arguing to analyzing. So, in the end, Tata Steel started with what they thought was a technology problem, but they only really succeeded when they solved the human one, by building trust, building skills, and finding a new way to work together. And that kind of leaves us with a critical question for our own work, doesn't it? Are we focusing too much on the tool and not nearly enough on the people who have to use it?